They are.
Despite the introduction of con mode and computers, there are still smaller networks where people actually talk to each other.
118, you've cut him down. Is there anyone else? 118, thanks, number 6.
At the Western Districts Co-op, the operators and drivers like to regard themselves as a small and friendly network. And John Peake, an experienced operator from way back, would like to say they've got a sense of humour too.
Car 1, Jip on the highway. What a fine young man. Anybody else? Once again, as in the Polar Explorer, the name Mawson at the wagon wheels. Righto, Cambridge Park, Sandringham and Cambridge. 1 or 2 hires going to Queen Street St Mary. Car to cover. I don't have a car cross-talking at the moment while I'm calling a job, surely. No, you wouldn't do that. Of course, it wouldn't happen on this network. Blacktown, number 6 Osborne Road, 1 going to the Workers Club.
Here, it's still called the radio room, rather than the communication centre. And although there are some concessions to technology, in a room about 1/10 of the size of taxis combined, the atmosphere remains relaxed and informal.
One of the big things, I think, is the comradeship that exists on the smaller networks. You get to know the drivers very well, and you do get to know the passengers very well too. The drivers certainly would be able to tell you where the passenger's going without the destination, just from the name. Time of the day that the person's calling. I don't say everyone, but the majority of them. We even have in relation to the nicknames that the drivers get quite often. The passengers know the drivers by these nicknames too. There's one fellow we have at Blacktown, they call him the Baron. Unlike me, he hasn't got any hair. There's Tom Terrific. Tom's a lass that drives a cab in the Mount Druitt area. We should try and meet Tom. She's a very nice little person.
How do the men taxi drivers react to you?
Most of them are pretty good, you know, where they treat us just like one of them, but we do get a few that sort of resent the women driving the cabs, feel that the women are intruding on their domain. You get, you know, the odd sarcastic remarks sometimes, especially when you beat them on a job. I've had one bloke say, you only won that job because of the shape of your legs. I've had a few men that didn't like women drivers and wouldn't get into the cab. But the women, you know, quite like women drivers. We have one regular down at Mount Druitt. She always goes and gets in a woman driver's cab. She reckons the women are better drivers, more understanding than the men.
Are there ever times when passengers try and take advantage of a lady driver?
Oh, I think passengers try and take advantage of taxi drivers, whether they're men or women. I haven't noticed it any more than the blokes. That the men say they get, you know, the same sort of things happening to them.
Do you ever get propositioned by any of the passengers?
Oh, it does happen occasionally. It's happened twice in the time I've been driving. One bloke told me if I came inside, he'd give me more than $1.50's worth of a good time. No thanks, mate. I think I'd rather have $1.50, you know.
One of the home truths of the taxi industry is that you just never know who the next fare is going to be.
From the Northern Territory. My mother raised me on the track. My daddy never did come back, so I'm not too sure about my pedigree.
Western Districts is on the outskirts of Sydney. And while Tom Terrific might find it easy to knock back $1.50 worth of a good time, a country and western singer who wants to go a long way is a fare worth having.
And the lady's taking everything I do. Hey, Charlie. Yeah, I drank Georgina water and I crossed the Queensland border and I danced the playpen boogie through the night. Been roving down the
These are the sorts of interludes that keep taxi drivers smiling. But there's another side of the business.
I gave a job out to a car here a few years ago. Made a few funny comments. He'd just moved into his new house. And at 10 minutes past 7 that night, I had to identify his body at Chester Hill, lying across the front seat of his car. He'd been shot by the passenger that I'd given him from Mount Druitt down to Chester Hill.
David William Davis was killed just after Christmas in 1974. He'd been driving a cab for 20 years. The two youths who killed him weren't after money, but thrills. They're still in jail and forgotten, but the family Davis left behind will always carry the scars of a senseless tragedy.
How do you
hold a dinner party for 6 that costs less than $50.
I'm going to show you